And good morning, friends around the world. It's laundry day. I took my clothes to the laundromat, and they didn't quite get dry, so I'm going to leave them here on the front porch to dry. And by this afternoon, they'll be ready to put away. Laundry day. Every now and then, you got to clean things up. And in 2020, we have an example of a period where we're able to clean things up. Nancy Pelosi, Feinstein, Schumer, Jerry Nadler, Adam Schiff have totally discredited themselves in their conduct relating to this Russia collusion hoax and the continued cover up and the continued lying. This is the same crowd that propagated the bogus idea that humanity should stop using fossil fuels because the carbon dioxide is warming the planet. They perpetuate lies in the absence of evidence. They actually create phony evidence. They pay for phony evidence. The dossier paid for smear campaign, man-made global warming. All of this so-called research about global warming is paid for by these Marxists who believe in or advocate huge government and a huge welfare system. It'll bankrupt this country, and it's contrary to the Constitution. The Constitution is a document that limits the federal government and retains power to people and to the states. It's a document that limits government. And this is a wise move because people, especially Marxists, cannot be trusted. Now, this brings us to immigration. Let me get my piece of plywood. This is about uh, 6 or 8 feet tall, and I've divided it into two columns. Over here, you have the dates. Here's 6,000, 7,000, 8,000, 9,000, 10,000. I made this to put this debate about immigration in perspective. Let me point out also that I've divided historical events into two columns. Here, this column is for Europe, and this column is for North America. Right here is the Bronze Age in Europe, where writing was being developed and where bronze tools were being developed uh, rather than using stone tools. Prior to this, everybody worldwide was using stone tools. Even way down here, where I have this piece of red tape, that is the 13,000 year level. Right here, all this blue, these are archaeological finds in North America. So you see, everybody was in the Stone Age. This down here is the Ice Age. It ended about this period along in here, about 10,000. For 10,000 years, we've had a nice temperature, 10,000 years of perfect weather. Nancy Pelosi will have you believe that the Latinos should be allowed to come into this country and be given uh, welfare benefits that even Americans, even citizens, don't enjoy. I say again, these people are not credible. I'm going to present you with two pieces of evidence. Two pieces of evidence why we should not allow Latinos to come flooding in and to be given privileges that even citizens don't enjoy. Um, an event that I marked here with the red tape on my plywood is my proposed meteor impact. at 13,000. And the only evidence we need of it is widespread, um, called the platinum anomaly, which can be found in ice cores everywhere. It can be found in strata of soil laid down through a geologic process. The different levels of soil you dig down and you can date. This is what happened. There are different ways to date things found at different levels of soil. And at the 13,000 point, the younger Dryas boundary, when a very cold event happened, the planet turned very cold suddenly. That's incidental evidence of a meteor impact that put a persistent cloud of ice crystals in the atmosphere that blocked out the sun. Um, but how do we know that the Europeans did not? Prove to me that the Europeans did not make a contribution to the Native American population. Native American population, which has this type of tool technology, Stone Age tool technology, Solutrean projectile points, advanced technology for making precision projectile points that could be easily attached to a shaft that you and your buddies could easily run up to a mastodon, kill that sucker, maybe even put one of your projectile points right through its skull and bring it down. These projectile points are not found in Siberia. They're not found in Alaska along the proposed route of these Siberians, but they are found in archaeological sites in Europe. Solutrean, named after a town in France. This is evidence of a European contribution to the Native American population. How did they get here? The Ice Age. The North Atlantic was frozen up the top of the North Atlantic around Iceland, Greenland, England, ice sheet, so that you could walk across, and you could walk across and hunt for seal as you went across. The seal would come up through a breathing hole, and you stand there with your spear ready to get that seal. And how do you cook your food? The ice would have been littered with driftwood. Driftwood everywhere. Seal hunting easy, especially in the summertime. Some fit young men could make this journey. Maybe one summer they went part way across, and maybe some of the more adventuresome went all the way across, and maybe the next summer they returned and spread the news. We found a happy hunting ground on the other side of the ice bridge, the ice shelf. You could have used a boat now. We don't know that the Europeans did not have boats. There's evidence that prehistoric people had boats, but somehow the consensus, the scientific consensus, says no, no, no. People in the Pacific had boats, but people in the Atlantic were not smart enough to invent a boat. But they were smart enough to walk across. And I'm just saying that the evidence is murky of what happened so long ago, as illustrated by my plywood, putting things in perspective. And your hypothesis is just as good as theirs. I'm saying there's evidence of a European contribution to the North American population in the distant past that was wiped out or almost wiped out by a meteor impact. And the only proof or evidence you need to make your theory plausible is the platinum anomaly found in ice cores. Ask Al Gore about ice cores. He knows all about them. And ask reputable scientists, archaeologists, such as Firestone, Goodyear, and Stanford, Dennis Stanford, who proposed this idea originally, the Solutrean hypothesis. Before you let them laugh you out of the room, just point out there is evidence of an alternative opinion. And we don't need a consensus of so-called conventional thinking shoved down our throats. We're Americans. We think for ourselves.